You can't do it. If any company has the financial might to make a speedy, high-priced bid, it is GE. And if any CEO has the guts to do it, it's Jack Welch. Welch scribbled GE's preemptive offer on a sheet of paper and faxed it to Bonsignore. $44 billion in stock, or $55.12 a share, plus assumption of some of Honeywell's debt. But Honeywell's board, which incidentally included 2 GE board members, Ann Fudge and Andrew Sigler, had reservations. To soothe their fears, Welch made an offer that sent a bombshell through GE corporate headquarters and rattled the nerves of the candidates who anxiously awaited a decision on who would replace Welch when he retired in April 2001. Welch told the Honeywell board he would stay on through the end of 2001 to make sure the deal went through smoothly. Since a merger that would increase GE's revenues from $131 billion to $156 billion and expand its employee base from 340,000 to 450,000 persons is likely to take a little time, there are hints Welch might stay even longer. Some GE executives were quietly miffed that Welch thought they couldn't get the Honeywell merger integrated into GE without him. But Welch wasn't about to take chances with his own and his family's fortunes. "The guy that owns more GE stock, I think, than most of you is me," he told reporters at a press conference. "I don't own anything else. GE stock going up is all my kids and I got. So if you think I'm running out on that, you're wacky." It's about money, it's about power, it's about the fun of making things happen. Earlier in the same year, when Welch made headlines by signing a record $7.1 million autobiography deal, consumer polling showed that most people didn't even know who Jack Welch was. Those who don't should check him out. Welch is a guy who makes a lot of things happen, all kinds of things that affect the lives of all of us, even when we aren't aware of it. Even if Welch's name isn't a household word, it is treated with reverence in the business press. Larry Bossidy, a respected GE veteran who later served as chief executive of Allied Signal, has said Welch is the management oracle of the past 50 years. Incidentally, Bossidy was responsible for merging Allied Signal with Honeywell in 1999, forming another link in the web of connections and influence that Welch has woven during his long career at GE. During his 20 years as GE's chief, Welch guided the transition of one of the most venerable of American companies from an old economy manufacturing company with a market capitalization of $13 billion into a $525 billion global conglomerate that is involved in everything from major household appliances to high finance to high-tech medical scanners. Once called the toughest boss in America, Welch has added some of the most feared words to the business lexicon: restructuring, downsizing, right-sizing. Welch wasn't too happy about the nickname he was given, Neutron Jack, a CEO who kills off the people but leaves the building standing. But other executives liked what he was doing and followed his lead. He ignited a movement based on cost reduction and enhanced efficiency that spread like wildfire throughout the corporate world. By the end of the 20th century, the negative nicknames had given way to praise. Eventually, he was dubbed Krypton Jack, something of a bulletproof Superman. Newsweek called Welch America's boss, who towers above all other bosses. It's Uber boss. He has been called the alpha male of the corporate world, the Vince Lombardi of business. Welch's admirers and imitators are legion. Bob Ulrich, chairman and chief executive of Dayton-Hudson Corporation, which, among other retail chains, owns Target stores, strives to re-energize his company using Welchian principles. Jürgen Schremp, who became CEO of Daimler Chrysler in 1995, has claimed Welch as his hero in his restructuring and expansion of the German conglomerate formerly known as Daimler-Benz. Kichisaburo Nomura, president of All Nippon Airways Corporation, considers himself a student of Welch and quotes the American business leader when addressing his employees. "The secret of success is changing the way you think." The Rand Corporation, dedicated to research on national defense, has suggested that the U.S. Department of Defense should follow Welch's lead in restructuring the military services, especially as it relates to developing and using human talent. In the words of a DoD working group, in preparing for the future, the single most valuable contribution of the current leadership is to build a learning organization which is devoted to increasing the effectiveness of initiative and ingenuity of commanders and highly skilled employment teams. In effect, put into motion a mechanism of continuous improvement. Even the so-called new economy companies look to Welch for inspiration and ways to keep on a high growth curve. At Microsoft's 2000 annual meeting, Chief Executive Steve Ballmer said that he had been spending a reasonable amount of time studying GE's results. When Fortune named Welch the Manager of the Century, the editors explained, "Welch wins the title because, in addition to his transformation of GE, he has made himself far and away the most influential manager of his generation. As the most widely admired, studied, and imitated CEO of his time, Welch has enriched not only GE's shareholders, but the shareholders of companies around the globe. His total economic impact is impossible to calculate, but must be some staggering multiple of GE performance." But again, simply managing a company expertly seems an inadequate explanation for the cult hero status Welch has achieved within the business community. Since when did corporate executives become cultural icons? To understand the power and influence of Jack Welch, you must first comprehend GE, its behemoth size, and the height, width, and depth of its economic reach. In the book Built to Last, The Successful Habits of Visionary Companies, authors James C. Collins and Jerry I. Porras include GE among the world's transformational companies, those that distinguish themselves beyond mere success or ability to endure. They ranked GE with 3M, American Express, Boeing, Ford, Hewlett-Packard, IBM, Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, Sony, Walmart, and Walt Disney. Visionary companies, explain the authors, have woven themselves into the fabric of society with their products. Scotch tape, Tide detergent, Band-Aids, Mickey Mouse, and General Electric light bulbs and appliances. General Electric is omnipresent, even though at times people don't realize it. Anytime you see a plastic part on your car or any piece of equipment, you may be looking at a GE product, since the company is a leader in the plastics industry. When you flip a light switch in your home or office, not only is the light bulb likely to be manufactured by GE, GE also probably made the turbine at the electric generating plant that supplies the power. When you watch television, GE is there, with full ownership of the NBC television network and 200 affiliated stations. On top of that, GE shares ownership of the MSNBC cable network with another giant, Microsoft. But even if your television set carries the GE logo, GE didn't make it. When you take a commercial airline flight, there is a good chance that GE designed and manufactured the engines on the airplane, and may very well own the airplane itself. Through GE Capital, it owns more commercial aircraft than American Airlines. If you travel by train, GE most likely built the locomotive motor. If you go to a medical center for a CAT scan or an X-ray, GE may have made that equipment and will be servicing it. Furthermore, GE probably financed all the aforementioned equipment through GE Capital, the largest finance operation in the world. During its 123 years of operation, GE has become so large that the question arises, is GE's performance affected by the U.S. economy, or is it the other way around? Even at the time Welch took charge, the company was so big that sales equaled about 1% of America's gross domestic product. Many experts consider GE a proxy for the U.S. economy as a whole, rising and falling with the tide of economic well-being. For years, there was an American saying, "As goes General Motors, so goes America." GM is still an influential company, but its power has been diminished by foreign competition. A different general is in charge now. As goes General Electric, so goes the nation, and perhaps even the world. Perhaps the most astounding thing is the impact that Jack Welch has had on the world economy and even world culture, as both become increasingly globally integrated. Welch has pushed GE, the most American of all corporations, into a decisive and irreversible world dominance. As a result, the rest of the world has been driven to be more like GE, and hence more like the United States. Some of Welch's influence stems from GE's might, but not all of it. Simply because of its size and financial power, GE is an economic, political, and social force unto itself. Yet Welch's strong will and dominant personality have left their mark. Welch, in his management style, epitomizes the American ideal: big, bold, egalitarian, democratic, energetic, creative, driven by the work ethic. Welch is both an evangelist for capitalism and an enforcer of capitalist precepts. At the same time, the values that he so energetically espouses, meritocracy, dignity, simplicity, speed, a hatred of bureaucracy, touch on universal longings that are not limited to North America. They translate almost anywhere, and he knows that. When everyone asks me over and over again, "How do you transfer GE values somewhere?" I tell them we can do it because they are really the most simple values of all. It's human dignity and voice, said Welch. What our managers try to do is let everybody raise their hand and say what they think. And if people have a voice and they have a say in things, they respect it and like it. Now that dignity and voice may be a little different in Beijing than in Pittsburgh, but it's nothing other than giving people the treatment that you would already want for yourself in that culture. Nevertheless, Welch has many critics, especially among environmentalists and idealistic and religious organizations devoted to improving the human condition everywhere. To decide whether Welch has been a positive or negative influence on society, it is necessary to face several realities. Without the complex machinery for technical advances that a company such as GE provides, we are stuck in the present. Because a sound economic base is essential to the well-being and progress of mankind, Welch has made a significant positive contribution. But life is never as simple as that. While Welch's notions seem to make sense and have a special allure, his business revolution brings with it problems. No great change to society comes without a price, without a turbulent transition. The trouble Russia and its former satellite nations have had moving from communism to capitalism is a prime example of how the process can stumble and even break apart. Yet, just as there was no chance of stopping the Industrial Revolution, the Pandora's box of electronic commerce and globalization has been opened. Fast and cheap transoceanic flight, satellite telephone and television communications, and especially the Internet, have made globalization inevitable. When television viewers in Calcutta and Cincinnati watch the same report on the cable news network at the same time, their view of the world quite naturally draws closer together. This book explores how Welch shaped and influenced GE, how he pushed and prodded both a company and a nation into global power, and how the global vision of one man, an individual who has never been elected to a single government post or ever led a great church or populist movement, is impacting the lives of everyone, everywhere, even though they don't know quite who he is. Welch is an individual of high energy and intelligence who holds true to his beliefs. But to assume that he always knows what is right, or that he has made no mistakes, is incorrect. As extraordinary as GE is, the visionary companies with far-flung, complicated operations never have unblemished records.